It's time for Coffee with the Chicken Ladies, a podcast for people who love chickens.
Hey everybody, and welcome. It's Chrisie&Holly from Coffee with the Chicken Ladies. We're here, and this is episode number 238 of our podcast, where we talk about everything chicken, family, fun, and
more chickens.
More chickens. We drink a ton of coffee. I'm talking a ton. But most importantly,
we hug chickens every day.
And we kiss them too. Don't forget. We brew coffee from a little coffee roaster in Houston, Texas. Bright and early coffee. Holly, Ann, what kind of coffee are we brewing today?
Texas cinnamon.
You can't go wrong with that Texas cinnamon. And if you're not drinking it, you're missing out. Use our code CWTCL15 for 15% off a bagged coffee. Where should everybody go?
brightandearlycoffee.com.
And if you need K-Cups, go on over to Amazon. Follow them on Facebook and Instagram. Are you ready to sip some of this delicious cinnamon coffee and chat Texas cinnamon?
I am. But first, a word from our sponsor.
We have some exciting news to share from our sponsor, Grubbly Farms. They're here, new and improved, Grubbly's World Harvest.
I'm a longtime subscriber, and my flock love the healthy, nutritious treats, plus orders $40 and more ship free.
If you haven't heard, Grubbly's has a fantastic layer pellet and crumble feed. It's packed with plant and insect protein, perfect for those picky chickens and ducks.
Grubbly Farms makes food and treats for healthy pets and planet.
To support us and Grubbly Farms, use the link grubbly.co/coffee. Try it today. Okay, so we're back. We're back.
We are.
We're back from the UK Paris trip, and we had a blast. It was amazing.
It was amazing. I haven't been to the UK for a long time, so it was really wonderful to see everything again. It was amazing to see our friend Fiona. We had a fantastic time with her. Check out the urban farms. All things considered, we had amazing weather.
Oh, yeah.
We had some really good shopping. And
we did.
Some incredible meals. I mean, we ate in so many places that take farm to table seriously. The food was to die for.
It was really good. I had never been there before, so it was my first time. And I fell in love with everything there, especially the fish and chips. Let's just say that.
Yeah, you did become a big fan of the fish and chips. Mm-hmm.
And the peas. I was like, you could just keep bringing the peas on. Come on.
Mushy pea. Yeah, the mushy peas.
Yes. And to meet Fiona in person after working with her on Zoom for 5 years, it was like she stepped right out of the computer and we had been there all along together. You know,
that sounds like the plot of the book. She stepped through the computer.
She stepped right out of the computer and she was right there. And it was such a good day and such a great thing to be somewhere with her, you know, and it's great. Just awesome. So much fun. But as Sophia says, come on back to reality.
I don't mind being back to reality. I really missed all the critters and Pete by the time I got home.
Yeah, I did too. I mean, the one thing that I really realized over there is there are a lot of geese and swans. Lots. And
wild
some ducks.
Ones. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so many. And they're not like people think here, where many people think the wild geese and the swans are mean. They're not. They're like, hey, I like these people because they feed me. They were really friendly.
I'm sure if we encountered any of them during breeding and nesting season, it would have been a different story. But as it is, they were like, hi, nice ladies, give us food.
And we never had any to give them.
I know, we didn't. I felt bad.
Awful. It was awful. One of my favorite things was sitting there at the Swans in Windsor and watching the man swim in the wetsuit.
Okay. Right. Someone was swimming down the Thames in a wetsuit and a swim cap, as one does in the Thames. Followed by a trail of like 20 swans. It was hilarious. They just followed him straight down the river.
And we were just watching it all happen. I'm recording it. I got to get it out on Insta. But it was so cute because you just see this one guy swimming and then all the swans were in a line, just like, where's he going? We're following him. He knows something.
That was good stuff.
It was really good. All in all, a wonderful bestie vacation, 10 days. Thank you to your sister and Neve for having us over there with them. We had a great time with them too. Now, before we move on, today is June 17th. Somebody's birthday today. My mom's.
Oh, happy birthday, Miss Jackie.
So I got to wish happy birthday, Mom. Hope you're having a great day. Hope you and Dad aren't driving anywhere today.
Many happy returns.
Yeah. And on that note, if you're listening to our show and you're loving it, head on over to Apple Podcast and leave us a written review. It does amazing things for the growth of our show. And while you're there, hit that subscribe button for multiple reasons. One is you never want to miss the fun. And the second is they count them.
If you're looking for other ways to help support the podcast, you can tell a few chicken, duck, goose, or turkey loving friends about us.
Or swan.
I do love the swan so much. That was an unexpected pleasure. I just didn't expect to see so many. I love them. Even the black swan that we saw on the river.
The one black swan we saw.
You can share your favorite episodes on social media. You can become a patron of the show, patreon.com/coffeewiththechickenladies. And the other thing you can do to help support us is visit our website and our show notes, use our affiliate links and discount codes, and buy products from our sponsors.
Yay! You know what I love when it's 95 degrees outside?
Being inside.
Well, that too, but I really love cleaning my igloo chicken coop.
Yeah, it is so easy to clean. You don't have to break a sweat.
And you can use a water hose or pressure washer, so it doubles as a cool down. I also love those run covers.
Oh man, the shade is superb. I go into the run to cool off.
Yep, my flock's covered during the heat of the day, just chilling.
Meanwhile, we're melting on the patio. Seriously, can we get in on this amazing coop design for ourselves?
They're out there living the dream.
So when it's pushing 100 degrees, the right setup matters.
That's why we choose an igloo.
Get your girls their own just in time for summer.
Search Omelette. That's OMLET.
Hey, Chris.
Yeah.
Do you like monthly subscriptions?
Does it have anything to do with chickens?
Of course.
Then yeah. Let us take a minute to tell you about Chicken Love.
You get a monthly Chicken Lady tea, treats for your flock, and a keeper care card.
And did you know with every multi-month subscription, you get a free Chicken Love logo t-shirt?
Really?
Yeah.
It's $36 a month with free shipping.
What are you waiting for? Get off the nest and click already. That's chickenlove.com. That's chickenluv.com. Get your subscription today.
The Breed Spotlight is brought to you by Murray McMurray Hatchery, defining quality for generations. For over a century, Murray McMurray Hatchery has remained a trusted family-owned business, working tirelessly to ensure our poultry meet the highest standards. Whether you are an experienced enthusiast or just embarking on the journey, look to McMurray Hatchery for guaranteed quality, rare and heritage breeds, low minimums, and all the supplies you need to raise your flock. Request a free catalog today. We're back in the States, back in the saddle again. And so it's time for the next Breed Spotlight, yeah! Yeah, so wait, why are these little jingles sort of morphed from a song about the bird to like a current events thing?
I don't know, I'm just going with it. Whatever comes out, man.
Okay.
I'm just going with it here. And we are back behind the mics for the first time. You know, so it just came out that way.
Okay.
It's a little surprise because this week's Breed Spotlight is
the Brahma.
Yes, that's one popular chicken there.
Yeah, it really is a popular chicken in the UK. I'm giving this Breed Spotlight as if no one has ever seen a Brahma before, but if you haven't, you need to look them up. The beautiful Brahma is one of the gentle giants of the chicken world. They have very sweet and often very silly personalities, and they're really wonderful companions.
They're one again known for their personality.
Oh, yeah. They have well-feathered legs and profuse amounts of fluff, especially booty fluff. Like they have got big fluffy pantaloons.
And legs.
Yeah. They were one of the breeds that ignited hen fever in Victorian England and America. They were selling for large sums of money, and they really remain a beloved breed with both the show community and backyard chicken keepers, as it should be.
Oh, yeah.
Brahmas are in the Asiatic class, along with Langshans and Cochins, and they are currently graduates of the Livestock Conservancy's Conservation Priority List.
I'm not surprised. They're so popular right now, and accessibility is easy. There are a lot of places, so you can get them.
That's right. You can get them. Now, the Brahmas have an annoyingly convoluted history. It's all over the place. Now, this tends to happen, especially with birds that, they end up in the UK and the US in the middle of the 1800s, and people are like, oh, look, they date from the 1850s, but they don't. They have a long history in Asia before they came here.
Yeah.
Hence why they're called Asiatics. And reading through the early poultry historians is not fun because they all have different theories on where these birds came from, and none of it is correct and none of it is researched. And that gives me a headache for lots of reasons. So Brahmas, or the original stock that was developed in the UK and the US into what we know as Brahmas, they arrived in both places roughly in the 1850s. These early versions of Brahmas were called by various names. This even adds to the confusion. You will see them referred to as chittigongs, gray chittigongs, and my personal favorite, the Brahmaputra.
Oh, yeah.
Now, some of this stock absolutely did come from a ship that had been docked in the Brahmaputra River in India.
Mm-hmm.
And the chickens were given that same name.
I mean, when we were in Greenwich, we went on the shipping ship. What was it called again?
Oh, the Cuddy Sark, yeah.
The Cuddy Sark. And we saw on the first deck, the air deck, was the cage where the chickens were living when they crossed the seas. They had first row seats, man. First row seats.
I mean, they would have kept laying hens up where they had light. It was a sheltered spot, but probably not a fun voyage for the chickens. But the reality is they needed those hens for eggs. And so they had to have daylight in order to lay. If you are ever in London, go to Greenwich and tour the Cuddy Sark. It's one of the last of the tea and wool clippers. So a lot of the birds that we talk about, that is good British wool. A lot of the birds that we talk about, though, would have come into both the US and the UK in these tea clipper ships, like the Cuddy Sark.
My favorite part of that ship is all four of us were sitting there on that little computer thing where you practice taking the ship from Australia to London.
Right. Yeah.
And we were all trying to get the ship and we're like steering it and we're like, oh my gosh. But
that game was remarkably addictive.
It was. And the other thing is Holly carried a trash bag of wool onto the ship while we were touring it. So there's never a dull moment. But yes, we did see.
If you thought there was any way I was getting out of England without good British wool, you do not know me.
I said I wasn't surprised.
No.
But if you want to see the picture of Holly and looking like a bag lady on the ship, it's on our Instagram.
What an insensitive thing to say. I even bought a seat on the boat for that wool.
Because you got charged 3 times.
I know. I really did. That girl would not believe that anyway, we digress, but yeah.
Okay, let's move on.
So like I said, Brahmaputra River, and we know that some of the stock that came in did come from that ship. But there are also some sources that claim that some of the Brahma stock came from Shanghai and may have been birds that were the result of a cross between Cochins, which at the time were known as Shanghai, and Malays. I don't know. I have no idea how much of this is true and isn't, and I don't think we could know unless there was some kind of genetic mapping done.
We couldn't, but if you look at them, you can see both those birds in the Brahma.
Well, you can absolutely see the Malay. I don't know if there's a Cochin in there. I think the Cochin, the Langshan, and the Brahma are all their own distinct birds.
I mean, the Cochin has shorter legs, but they have the feathered legs, which is a distinct characteristic.
They have the Cochin legs are more heavily feathered than Brahma legs.
Well, it's still something that's in common between them, and I feel like their brow kind of looks the same, too.
No. I'm going to argue with you on that one.
To me, it does.
Brahma, a lot of detractors of the Brahma don't like them because they have that lower brow that people call a beetle brow.
Yeah.
That is straight from the Malay, I think, or something similar to the Malay.
Yeah, but
and Cochins don't have that.
Mine do have a little look they give me. It's a little the same.
That's feathers. It's not skull shape. It's feathers.
Well, whatever. It's a look, okay?
So I did think this was interesting. In some parts of Asia, there is a bird called a chittagong, and it does look very much like a Malay. But that's all I know about it. The rest of what I know is that by 1874, the Brahma had a breed standard and a shorter name And both light and dark Brahmas appeared in the APA's first printing of the Standard of Perfection in 1874. The beautiful buff Brahmas were developed and added to the Standard of Perfection later in 1924. Now, Queen Victoria, this was also very much a Victoria trip. There was a lot of walking in the footsteps of Victoria on this particular trip to the UK, which was interesting.
There was also a lot of walking. A lot.
Well, like I said, we followed in her footsteps many times over. Queen Victoria did have a pair of Brahmas along with her Cochin Chinas and her Shanghai fowl. An American breeder named George Barnum presented Her Majesty with a pair. It was at least a pair, or it may have been a couple of breeding pairs of light Brahmas. And this guy was all about the profit because he used all of his marketing skills to promote this, the fact that his birds were going to Her Majesty, thereby allowing him to raise the prices of his Brahmaputra birds until they were selling for as much as $150 per pair.
Which back then is a lot more than it is today.
It sure is. Now, I've gathered that light Brahmas are believed to be the foundation stock for dark Brahmas, and that both varieties were extremely popular in both the US and the UK. In the New American Poultry Book that was published in 1888, John Taggart describes Brahmas as being the largest breed of chicken. Now, that was probably true then. That's before the Jersey Giant had been developed. And Taggart, I'm going to tell you, Taggart loves him some Brahmas. So if you have this book, look it up because he just fawns all over these birds. I love it. I agree with him. Now, as we revisit our earlier argument, if you have looked at a Brahma for long enough, you can see where the Malay could have had a lot of genetic influence.
Yeah.
The Brahma's height, that small peak comb, and the skull shape that causes the fierce-looking brows to jut out. Those are all Malay characteristics.
Well, you forgot that the heavy feathering, especially
yeah, we already
in the
talked
legs,
about that.
could be from the Cochin. So
I don't think so. The other things that would have come along, like the Cochin is not as tall as the Brahma. They're differently shaped than the Brahma. I think they're very distinct. I don't think one was a progenitor of the other.
I think they are distinct, but they could have like a little of each in them. I think.
Disagree button. Okay, let's proceed.
Let's go on. So the thing we can agree on is that the Brahmas are heavyweight chickens and are considered a dual purpose, okay? The standard calls for roosters to weigh in about 12 pounds and hens to weigh in about 9.5. Now, 9.5 for a hen is huge. It's really big.
Well, it's enormous. I mean, my hens have all been closer to about 8 pounds, and that looks huge to me. That's a big girl.
June is like right over 7 pounds, and she's huge to me.
Yeah.
So imagine 9.5 in a chicken. That's pretty big.
Well, now, I think we saw some of them at the Ohio National that were breed standard, and they were absolutely gloriously massive.
Yeah. Every bird was bigger than we've ever seen at that show.
Yeah.
So they do have a small peak comb, red faces, and red earlobes, and those stout yellow legs. They're ready to go and be models. Legs and toes are heavily feathered, like we said. Tails are short and wide, like the Cochins. Now, they come in 3 color varieties, and the light Brahma, which is the Columbia pattern, a white bird with black striping on the neck and the tails. The buff is also a Colombian pattern, and the dark Brahma is a beautiful steel gray, and it's a silver penciled bird with a light head and neck. Now, when we were in England, we saw other colors that in the US are not available, so that was a treat.
You're starting to see a few other colors creep in the US, but, you know, we don't have like lavenders and partridge and all those beauties. Oh, they were so beautiful.
I mean, seeing them in person, like the different colors that you can't get here it was a treat. They were beautiful. And they're just gorgeous. You know, when you see them in the coloring and all that stuff, the penciling, everything.
I was laughing up my sleeve because I heard maybe both you and Miss Fiona saying, oh, maybe I'll add some Brahmas to my flock.
Well, I have all the chickens in my flocks now that are kind of like were my breeds. And basically, once you have like all of like the ones you really want, then you're kind of looking at, okay, if I would add a chicken, would I add more of the same that I have? Or would I look at different breeds? And if I look at different breeds, they do fit all the things that I look for in a chicken.
Oh, yeah.
So, they would be one that I would be like, okay, they might be my next chicken because, they kind of fit my MO rather than going back to the breeds I already have and getting another one of those.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're beautiful for sure. Now, the hens are very good broody mama, so that's good. They're decent layers of large brown eggs. They do generally about 3 to 4 per week in their first few years of laying. Then they drop off to 2 to 3 per week as they get older, kind of like the MO of the Orpington.
Very similar. I just feel like this is the MO of big chickens in general.
Big chickens, big friendly chickens, and these are chickens that are going to be pets also.
Right.
So, you're kind of trading off for higher level eggs to being able to handle them and love them and do all the good things.
It is plenty of eggs for a normal household.
And they're good winter layers, and they will start laying again in January or February after their molt. So you're going to have it, a little sooner than some of the other chickens. And you'll see it. Once you have a diverse flock of different breeds, you'll see the difference between the winter layers and the non-winter layers because starting in January and February versus starting in March or April is a big difference.
Yes. So, I mean, I can tell you that, my English girls are going to start laying early. The Asiatics are going to lay super early. Meanwhile, Delilah, the Egyptian Fayumi, may not lay until April.
Yeah.
She's a Mediterranean hot weather little bird. That's the way it goes.
Exactly. So the Brahmas are fancy chickens, and they would make an excellent fancy addition to the chicken lady or the chicken man or gent's flock. Okay. They make great family birds and are wonderful members of a laid back mixed flock. And that's why they're kind of next on my list of
They
chickens.
are not good candidates for a rough and tumble homestead bird. Unsupervised free range can be quite dangerous for them, especially for the light Brahma because she's a bright white target. But they're not very predator savvy. They're just kind of going along doing their happy little bird thing, sunning themselves. They're not eyes on the sky. This is a bird that if you're going to have them out a lot, you might benefit from having a rooster with them just because he's got eyes on the sky and he might herd them a little faster.
Exactly. That boy we met in England was beautiful and huge.
Partridge cockerel. He was a looker. And those feet were enormous.
Yep. We're going to have more pictures of them up this week so that everybody knows who we're talking about here.
Now, even though these absolutely adorable birds love to take long, lazy dust baths and afternoon naps, they do like to spend a little time foraging and scratching. My praline is a champion scratcher.
Right.
They're also excellent lap chickens, and they're absolutely wonderful to hug. I mean, that is an armload of soft, feathery love like no other.
Now, here's the thing. They're very cold hardy, which is great. So in the winter, they're going to be good. But that means the opposite end, if you're in a humid and warm place, they don't really like the heat because they're large. They got a big body mass and they have a lot of feathering. So you're going to have fans or something in place if it gets super hot to help them through that. And we're going to be talking about that kind of stuff next week, maybe.
My Brahmas like to stand in shallow pools of cool water. In addition to drinking water, it's nice to have something like that out. They really do need fans and some deep shade. And I don't think you can get, in some place like, we're the top of the South. So in the American South, I don't know that you can safely get a Brahma through summer without having a fan in your coop.
Do they know Margot? Are they related to Margot somehow, the Buff Orpington? Because Margot stands in the bowl.
It's very possible that she's a distant cousin.
Sometimes when it's
she says, "Come on in, y'all. The water's nice."
Sometimes when it's 2 degrees, she likes to stand in the water bowl too.
Yeah. Well,
So here's the thing. Here's the all-important question. We've said this before. They're widely available. They're accessible to everyone. Where can everybody get these birds?
Our friends at McMurray Hatchery have all 3 color varieties. And I will tell you that their dark Brahmas are especially gorgeous and healthy. I mean, I feel like photos don't do dark Brahmas justice. When you see them in person, they have that steel gray, fluffy booty and the beautiful penciling. They're just gorgeous. It's becoming a lot more common to find Brahmas in farm and feed stores as well. And if you're looking for conservation breeding stock, you can check the Livestock Conservancy's breeders directory for folks that are local to you.
And in the UK, you can find partridge, you can find lemon, you can find all different other colors.
There's lemons.
Lavender, and they're really beautiful. So take advantage of that.
Partridge.
Yeah, exactly. So show us some pictures, give us some stories, hit the mention button, put our name in, and we will reshare your Brahmas. We want to see them.
Are you ready to dive into the fascinating world of backyard ducks? Look no further than Metzer Farms, your premier destination for top quality waterfowl. Whether you're a seasoned breeder or just starting out, Metzer Farms has everything you need to elevate your flock to the next level. And if you're passionate about call ducks, you're in for a treat.
Metzer Farms hatches a stunning variety of call ducks, meticulously bred for their miniature size, beauty, and calm temperament. From snowy whites to vibrant colors, each duck is a masterpiece waiting to grace your backyard. Visit MetzerFarms.com today to browse their extensive selection and start your journey into the wonderful world of waterfowl. Metzer Farms, where passion meets perfection.
If you're looking for a chicken coop that's produced in a planet-friendly, sustainable way, try Nestera.
Each coop is made from highly durable, 100% recycled plastic that keeps the equivalent of up to 2,000 shampoo bottles out of a landfill.
Their clean, modern design will fit into any garden or run area and comes with an industry-beating 25-year warranty and a range of handy accessories.
Simple to put together, so quick and easy to clean, and most importantly, red mite resistant. Your chickens will love it.
Quick shipping from Nestera.us.
For a 5% discount, use the affiliate link in our show notes, on our website, and on Instagram. Link in bio. Check them out today. Okay, are we ready to move on to main topic? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, this week, our main topic, we just came home. We're going to be talking about what we learned from the urban farms in the UK, because part of the reason we went over was to check out the urban farms and see what our friends over in Britain were doing that we could learn from.
A lot of the urban farms in the UK have been around for quite a long time. They've learned from things, they've honed their practices. The farmer we spent the most time was Surrey Docks Farm,
right?
Which is on the edge of Greenwich, I guess you call it, or the end of Rotherhithe. I am mixing up my geography because we went there by boat, so it's not the same as like tube stops.
No, once we got off our stop, we had about a 12-minute walk to get to the farm from the boat stop. And this was our day with Fiona. She's traveled with us there. And it was great. There's a lot to learn.
So we have 7 points. Some of these things we knew already, but seeing them in action really, I think, inspires and gives people an idea that they're on the right track or something of that nature. I personally think that these urban farms are the way of the future. Because it gives people control over their food supply, all the things we're going to talk about. But I was impressed by Surrey Docks, just the way they manage the land and animals. It was very well done.
So I'll start it off with, they're on about 2 acres. 2 acres, okay? And one of our key things that we learned is that having a farm, it's still a farm, whether you're on the outskirts of the city, in the city or not. You could have a farm on a 1/4 acre. You have to use what you have and use it to its utmost capacity to make it productive. And having a productive farm right off the city is great. So 2 acres, they had every farm animal known to man. So what we learned is if you have a little bit of land, you can still do it. You can definitely still do it.
The amount of food that they could produce on an acre or 2 of ground was really impressive. And like you said, they even had cows.
They had cows, they had goats, they had sheep, they had pigs, they had chickens, they had geese, they had ducks.
Mm-hmm.
Did we say goats? Yes, we said goats.
Yeah.
And every animal that's going to help them. And they had a small orchard. They had many, many, many gardens growing all your herbs, all your vegetables, all of this on less than what I have here. It was immense and it was beautiful. It was clean. It was amazing. And what I liked is with the sky view, you saw the London skyscape.
Right.
So you're looking at the city across the river, but you're standing on a 2 acre farm that is feeding so many people. It's just amazing.
The other thing they did really well that I also think is absolutely necessary in agriculture is recycling everything. They reuse everything from every bit of manure that's produced, scrap wool. So a lot of their sheep have very good usable wool that ends up in the hands of fiber artists. But sheep will also produce what's called britch wool, which is like hairy belly and leg wool, or there can be short bits. They were using that to line planters instead of like moss because it would hold the moisture in. They were just coming up with incredibly creative ways to reuse everything produced on that farm. It was very well done.
Yeah, I mean, you would be walking down and there would be a fence next to you and the berries would be vining over the fence to feed the pigs. So, every space known available, they were being used. The other thing I like about it is that it gives the community around it a sense of community. It's a place to belong. So if you wanted to, you could get your own little plot that they had these little areas where you could plant exactly what you wanted and come and harvest it and take it. But they run on volunteer and they run on donations. So when you work there, it's a sense of being part of something bigger than you are. And I love that.
I think that's very important for a lot of people, especially in cities. There's that whole phenomenon, urban isolation, where, you have people that live in the city and they're surrounded by other humans, but they feel very alone. And having people a place to work together, I think is very important, especially doing something as crucial as growing food.
Right. And the people that did work there had a sense of pride and they had a sense of love and care for the animals that they were taking care of. It was so nice to see.
It was wonderful. The fourth point I want to make, and again, we all know this, but it was seeing it in action. How important these farms are for children and for teaching. And with the children, they each got their own garden bed to cultivate, which I think is super crucial. They learn how to grow their own food. They learn what works, what doesn't work, etc. But there are also plenty of learning opportunities for adults. I'm sure that while we're always looking to do outreach with kids because we want them to have that lost connection with their food, I think there are plenty of adults who also have that. And this is a place where no one needs to make a big deal about it, but they can go and learn quietly and feel reconnected to their food source.
Oh, 100%. Here's the other thing I like is they are, and what we learned on 2 acres growing food, eggs, plant, meat, all the different things. You add to the economy also because you're having local restaurants buy the food from them to then make these farm to table plates for people who are visiting, for going to restaurants. So it's another part of their economy that's spurring off of the urban farm. Let's keep in mind, urban farm. This is not 100 acres in the countryside of England. This is 2 acres, 20-minute boat ride from Big Ben. So this is right there. So yeah, economy is getting sparked by this.
Their little farm shop I thought was very thoughtful. They sold eggs from all the poultry. And they also had, as well as, selling things to restaurants, etc. They also had things like cuttings from some of their plants for sale. Or if they started too many tomato plants, their leftover seedlings for sale. Just a lot of very thoughtful ways to offer these to people. And again, not waste anything.
Oh, and a special thank you to one of the volunteers' moms, Sylvia, for crocheting the lovely bunny with the derby hat that I got, or it was like I don't know what to call it, kind of hat.
I can't remember her hat, but yes.
Yes, for £7. That's a lot of work to sell for £7.
I'm both overjoyed and sad when I see things like that because I know the amount of work that lady must have put into that. I mean, £7 probably doesn't even cover her yarn, but they're beautiful little toys.
Yeah, so it was a little stuffed animal that I brought back for myself. That's okay, because I just thought she was so cute. But yeah, so adding that also is great. Here's the other aspect that we were talking about. Clean living. Clean living, growing all the trees and everything. We add to clean air We add to just making our food as fresh as possible with the least amount of chemical, which no chemical coming from there. So it's clean living.
A plant dense place like that is, again, super important in a city.
Yeah.
A lot of green space. And if you go into a space like that on a 90-degree day with all the vegetation, it's going to feel cooler in there than it does in the city. You feel like you're in this oasis because you are.
Yeah. Actually, love they had an ambulance there for the animals. Did you see that?
It's a van, right?
Yeah.
I'm sure they use it for things other than just medical transport.
Right. But it was kind of cool.
For that. Yeah,
it was kind of cool.
Oh, I thought the van was fantastic.
Yeah, they even had like a wood oven, like a pizza oven kind of thing right there,
Outdoor,
like big old outlet. And they used every bit of space right down to the iron railings. It had a blacksmith right there too on the 2 acres.
There's a blacksmith shop, right?
Yeah,
they actually offer blacksmithing classes.
Yeah, they were making all of the animals on all the gates and everything else. And it was a very nice day. And a special thanks to Claire, the livestock manager over there, for taking time and talking to us.
Well, the last point is that having a farm like that forces you to do the very important work of choosing the right breeds to fit your space.
Oh, yeah. You got to know what you have size. Like if you have a small amount of size, go with Mediterraneans, go with the smaller chickens or bantams.
I think that they were quite clever because they have a decent sized poultry yard. And while some people would say this is a breed that's too big, they went with Brahmas. But Brahmas are pretty gosh darn happy Brahmas don't need an enormous space, even though they're a big chicken, because they're quite docile and they're content. So I think they made a really good choice with the Brahmas.
I loved their setup. It was really, really a nice setup. Their predator proofing was amazing. The fencing that they used was amazing.
I laughed so hard because at different times, each one of us, me, you, and Fiona, all said to Claire, the director, what gauge is the wire on that fencing? That is amazing.
Yeah, and they had half of a roof to cover them from the rain because it rained so much there. Yeah. And they had plenty of room to walk around and be fine and happy. And they loved them. The people working there loved them. And it was just a really good day of seeing how if you live in a city, it doesn't have to stop you from doing urban farming and doing something that you love.
Right.
Even if you're just taking your patio or your deck off your flat, whatever, and growing as much stuff as you can grow. That's part of it. Use what you've got.
Creative use of space and time and everything else. And the more you build on this, the more you can do. I really feel like Surrey Docks Farm was a highlight of our trip. And thanks again to Claire and the volunteers for taking time out to give us a really nice tour.
Yeah. And hopefully maybe you guys might be hearing from her at some point.
Would be great.
Maybe. That would be great.
Our friends at Good Eggs solved the age-old question of how should I wash my eggs?
They're chicken people just like us who created the original silicone egg scrubber.
Both Chrissy and I use their brush and natural enzyme wash every time.
It's a total game changer.
It makes cleaning eggs so much faster and easier. Plus, they have a lifetime guarantee.
Good Egg is a small family business right here in the U.S., and they donate 10% of all profit directly to folks affected by cancer.
Go check them out at goodeggstuff.co.
That's goodeggstuff.co. Tell them Chrisie&Holly sent you. Okay, so are we ready to move on to
cracking the eggs?
Cracking those eggs. Now, we're sticking with the UK theme because we just got back. So this week's cracking the eggs is...
It's chocolate Victoria sponge cake. We have done the classic Victoria sponge a couple years ago. This chocolate version is amazing. Victoria sponge is a tea time favorite. The chocolate version isn't too different other than the fact that it's just a big, fat, delicious chocolate cake instead of vanilla.
Right, you're just adding that cocoa in there to give it the chocolate. But we did have a formal tea.
We did. We went to the Goring Hotel for tea, yes.
Yes, and we wore our fancy shoes and clothes, and it was so much fun. I think I drank at least 8 or 9 cups
You were making inroads on that tea. I was watching it disappear. It was you and Neve, and I was like, what are you people? Do you guys have a hollow leg? Where are you putting on this tea?
Like, because we ordered the same, and you and Marcy ordered the same, and for some reason, we were like, they had to refill the sugar cubes, the cream, everything, and they just kept refilling my tea, and I just kept drinking it.
And I lifted the teapot that Marcy and I had, because we had the same tea. I lifted that, and there were still tons left in. You two were like on your second or third pot of tea. I don't even know how that happened. You could tell the two sisters at that table, though.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. So, yeah, we were good. Like, at the end, I was like, I'm going to be like, you could like roll me out of there.
You had more tea in your body than blood, I think.
I said to the waiter, I said, I don't think I'm sleeping tonight because I've had so much tea.
Yeah, but you slept. After all that walking, you slept.
Oh, yeah. That was a lot of walking that day.
That was super fun.
Okay. So let's talk about the cake because it is a tea time favorite. Let's go through the ingredients here. 1 3/4 cups of all-purpose flour or all-purpose gluten-free flour. And we use King Arthur. You can't go wrong with that gluten-free. It's 1-to-1.
That has become my absolute favorite flour to bake with.
I like using the regular King Arthur to bake with.
Good stuff.
Good stuff. 1/2 cup of cocoa because you want that chocolate in there. 1/4 cup of dark cocoa because you want that dark, you want that rich chocolate taste. Hershey's does a really good special dark cocoa. I've used it. It's really good stuff too.
I keep it on hand just here and there. Even not for a cake like this, but just making, say, brownies, I throw a tablespoon or two in and it just amps up the chocolatiness.
It just makes it richer. 1 1/4 teaspoons of baking soda, 1/2 teaspoon of baking powder, 1/2 teaspoon of sea salt, 2 cups of granulated sugar, 2 large eggs at room temperature, 1/2 cup of vegetable oil, 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract, 1 cup of whole milk or thick and creamy plant-based milk, 2 cups of heavy whipping cream, dairy-free whipping cream or store-bought regular or dairy-free whipped topping, 1/4 to 1/2 cup of powdered sugar, depending upon how sweet that you like your whipped cream. I would add a little extra because I like things sweet. 1 6 to 8 ounce jar of strawberry rhubarb jam, strawberry jam, or a jam of your choice.
It just so happens that I have a couple of jars of strawberry rhubarb jam that I brought back from Kew Gardens.
Because that's one of the things that weighed your luggage down.
A little bit. I brought home 5 books, and 3 of them are cookbooks. So yeah.
I was jealous. I wanted those cookbooks.
I'll tell you what.
I could not fit them in my luggage.
I had no business putting those cookbooks in my luggage, but somehow I made it under the limit.
The best part was when Joe took your suitcase when he picked us up at the airport. And he was like,
whoa, this is way heavier than it was on the way there.
And then he picked up mine and he goes, there's no way you didn't have to pay for this.
There might have been an extra luggage charge paid. Might have happened.
Maybe, just maybe.
Okay, you're going to preheat your oven at 350 degrees Fahrenheit, and you want to spray or grease 2 8-inch cake pans. I'll tell you what, you can use 9s, but if you use 8s, you get this thick sponge that is so delicious.
Sometimes I like my cakes a little thicker.
Oh, yeah. In a medium-sized bowl, you want to add your dry ingredients, everything except the sugar, and you're going to whisk or mix that until well blended. In a large mixing bowl, combine your sugar, eggs, oil, and vanilla extract. You want to use a hand mixer or a stand mixer to mix on medium speed until smooth. That's going to be about 2 minutes, stopping to scrape down the sides of the bowl when necessary. Add the flour mixture and the milk to the egg mixture and beat again until it's thoroughly blended. Pour this batter evenly into the pans and place in the oven. You're going to bake for 30 to 35 minutes or until a cake tester comes out clean. And with a cake like this, you can start to smell it. Like when it's done, it starts to smell amazing.
Oh, yeah.
Set the cake layers aside. You want them to cool completely. Now, when you're ready to assemble, you want to start by whipping your cream. In a large mixing bowl, you're going to beat the cream until it holds soft peaks. You're going to gradually add in the appropriate amount of powdered sugar and then beat until the cream holds stiff peaks. I like to beat the cream till it's almost like clotted cream, like it's really stable. And the reason for that is because it holds up so much better when you assemble the cake.
That's right.
You're going to place the first cake layer on a plate or a cake stand. Spread a generous layer of the jam over top of the cake. Spread about half of the whipped cream over top of the jam, and then cover with the second cake layer. The sides of this cake are naked. You're only filling the middle and the top.
That's hot right now, is having a naked cake. So, yeah.
That's the way it is traditionally, and it just looks fantastic. You can decorate the top. I like to decorate the top. So cover that second cake layer with the remaining whipped cream. You can make it fancy and pretty or just, rustic. And then you can decorate the top with strawberries, edible flowers, whatever else you fancy. I really like to use both flowers and strawberries on the top. And then you can serve this with tea or coffee and enjoy. It is delicious.
Yes, indeedy. It is so good. So try it. You might like it. Let us know what you think. Send us pictures. We want to see them. Okay, so let's move on to retail therapy. Retail therapy. Yeah. This week's retail therapy.
We decided on this topic before we ever left the country, and it didn't go the way we thought it would.
We're talking vintage chickens in London and Paris markets, at the markets. So, yeah, we're going to talk it. It's going to be different than what you thought, though. A little different, but...
Because what happened?
We're going to be honest, because we didn't come home with a lot of chicken stuff. That's the thing.
We did come home with some, but it was all new. We didn't find any... We didn't find any treasures.
We found some vintage, but it was much, much older. And then that made the prices much, much higher.
Yeah.
And ones that we weren't willing to pay. I think at one point we found 2 roosters. Were they rooster or was it a hen and a rooster?
No, they were roosters. Ones. They were probably 4 inches high by maybe 2 or 3 inches. And they were done, I don't know if they were Chinese or Japanese, but they were done in this stunning sky blue glaze. They were absolutely beautiful, but they were 500 pounds.
Yes. So we were like, no, thank you.
The antique trade in the UK is different than here. I mean, antique shops there, for the most part, are like really valuable treasures that are going to cost you.
Right. It's not even like, you're going to walk in and find something even small and expensive. And the other thing is with the antique stores, things are older there than here. So, and people are willing to pay those prices.
Right.
So the hunt for vintage chickens there, it's not that we did not hunt. We went to Portobello Market, which is in Notting Hill, and we searched that market for chicken stuff. I mean, we found some stuff.
Yeah.
But it was mostly new stuff. We got felted chicken ornaments. We got wood carved chicken pens.
Oh, yeah, those are for Covent Garden. I mean, I'll say we found a lot of really amazing vintage jewelry, but there were chickens on none of it.
None of it.
Let me think. Did we get...
In Paris, I did get a pendant, a rhinestone rooster, but it was new. It wasn't vintage.
Yeah, I got a beetle pendant in the same place. That was a really nice jewelry store. They have beautiful stuff. Yeah, we got, again, in Paris, we went through this flower mart that also had like little notions, sachets embroidered with chickens. We got the gorgeous Bon Appetit rooster flags. And yeah, it was all new. Sometimes things don't go. Maybe if we had been out in the countryside in both countries and, able to go to like essentially flea markets, maybe we would have done better, but we didn't and we weren't and worked out how it worked out.
I love the surprise we had leaving Kew Gardens on Friday. We're walking back to the train, to the tube, and we came across that little vintage clothing store. And I found myself a fascinator in there. It made me so happy. I wore it Sunday morning as I drank my first cup of tea I brought back.
Oh, my Lord.
And the girls were like, what did you do? And I was walking around the house with it on and drinking my tea from Fortnum & Mason. And they're like, you're never going to wear that again. I was like, famous last words. Everybody says that, but I tend to wear these things. So, yeah.
I mean, I guess at the end of the day, if you want to wear it badly enough, you'll invent an occasion to wear it. So, yeah.
Well, Sunday morning, cocoa mint tea from Fortnum & Mason with my fascinator on.
It's black, right?
It's black. Yeah.
Oh, well, I mean, it goes with everything.
But when we tried them on in the department store, those were my faves. but those were like 200 pounds.
Well, I
We
mean,
weren't
right.
gonna buy
Those were handmade by a milliner. I mean, with sculpted feathers and all the other beautiful stuff. Although I really did I love both the ones I tried on. That navy blue teardrop one that came down on one side.
Yeah.
That was hot.
Yeah.
But my wallet would have been burning if I'd gotten that. I settled for a bottle of very expensive fingernail polish.
And they were not getting in the luggage to go home. My fascinator had to go in your luggage to get home.
Yes, it did.
But I loved it because I got it in the vintage clothing store. I got a purse there too, inexpensive, that I loved. But chicken stuff was scarce. I mean, they don't have like hens on nests. We didn't see any hens on nests, anything like that. But I agree with you. If we were in the countryside in Paris or England, we probably would have found a lot more stuff.
Probably.
But being in the cities, it was really tough. But hey, we did a lot of shopping. We had a lot of fun. And we got some chicken stuff. And we saw most beautiful swans and geese and ducks.
Oh,
and the chickens at the farm.
I've always been crazy over swans anyway, because you know how I am about the waterfowl, but I had no idea we were going to have that much time with them. So close up. They were so fascinating. I love me some swan.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Now, could you see 2 swans in your flock?
I don't have enough water for swans. If I had a lot of water, I could.
Yeah, I believe they do. Although there were a lot on the banks, but they do need to be able to swim.
They need a lot of swimming water. Yeah.
We watched them. I mean, they could swim fast. If they thought you had food, they came fast.
Yeah.
So,
you know what? We need to address this very quickly. I'm supposed to have my baby ducks this week. It's going to be next week because I got extremely sick. We're going to gloss right over all of that and say, Katie Metzer was amazing and pushed back my order for another week. So you're going to see duckling stuff this week instead.
Yes. So look for it. Look for it. Yay. Okay. So should we tell everybody what we're going to be talking about next week?
Next week, we are going to Germany and we are spotlighting the Niederrheiner chicken.
Yes, we had somebody request that too.
We did. Main topic, it's our triannual, like every 3 years. It's our triannual heat stress episode where we tell you all of our tips and tricks for getting your flock through a really hot summer.
You're going to need them.
Cracking the eggs. Oh, it's a mixed drink, so it's you. Strawberry gin sour, and it sounds really good. Strawberry gin sour sounds amazing.
Oh, yes.
Retail therapy is also one of yours. This is a novel idea. We're doing chicken music boxes. Make of that what you will.
There's some I really want. Yes. Okay. So what should we tell everybody to do until next week?
Hug your chickens, ducks, geese, turkeys, and swans if possible.
Every day, and kiss them too. We'll talk to you next week.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
If you'd like to see more of us, please follow us on Instagram at Coffee with the Chicken Ladies. If you'd like to help us grow the podcast, please leave us a written review on Apple Podcasts. If you'd like to become a patron of the show, please visit our Patreon page, patreon.com/coffeewiththechickenladies. Thanks for listening.